You've got some questions about tax deductions and you're way too afraid to ask it. I know. You know what? We're going to go over tax deduction 101 here. Hey, my name's Kenner French. I'm with vastsolutionsgroup.com. This episode, it's really part of our ongoing effort to help entrepreneurs, not only in taxes, but also just to help them in the entrepreneurial world. And, again, people are asking about taxes and tax deductions, especially as we come into, the new year and we're heading into, S-Corp filing season, et cetera, et cetera. And this, by the way, this is the vast vault where we're unlocking, I should say, some secrets about things that can help you as an entrepreneur. Let's go over the tax advantages simply of owning a business. Are there any? Well, there are several tax advantages of owning a business. And let's go over some of the specific ones. Just a couple of minutes. This will help you understand the basics of really tax deductions. So deductions for business expenses, which we're going to do in a little bit. Business owners can claim deductions for a wide range of expenses that are directly related to their business. I'll give an example. Rent, utilities, supplies, travel expenses, computers. There's just an example. These deductions can reduce a business owner's taxable income, which can reduce and lower the tax liability. Okay. Now, what about deductions for home office expenses? A lot of people ask about that. If a business owner works from home, they potentially could be eligible to claim a deduction for a portion of their home expenses, i.e. mortgage interest and property taxes. This can be a significant tax savings for business owner, especially if they're working from home, which a lot of our clients do. We have a lot of solopreneurs, especially in the real estate space. What about deductions for capital expenditures? Well, business owners can claim deductions for the cost of purchasing or improving business assets, such as an equipment or a building. These, those deductions are known as what's called capital expenditures and can be claimed over a period of time. Really depends. And what I would say, by the way, as I'm thinking about it, remember to talk to your advisor, call us, go to our website if you have any questions, because don't do anything obviously based on what a website says or what a podcast says. You got to confer with your situation with your advisor, whomever that is. And if it's us, great. Please feel free to reach out. We can, we're one click away at vastsolutionsgroup.com. What about lower tax rates on business income? I should mention that one. In many cases, business owners can pay a lower tax rate on their business income than they would pay on their personal income. So this can result in an overall lower tax liability. Well, overall, there are many advantages of owning a business, by claiming deductions for business expenses and capital expenditures and taking advantage of lower tax rates and business income. Business owners can save money on their taxes and keep more of their earning. That's what it's about. Let's say you make $1 million, but you have whatever, I'm making this up, $900,000 in taxes or $900,000 in expenses. It's not what you make. Great, you made $1 million, but really, ultimately, what it's about is what your take home is. The more you take home, the more you can have for retirement, or the more you can spend on your family, the more time you could, spend with your family because you're paying employees or paying other people to do whatever it is you don't want to do because you've lowered your taxes. Now, let's go into the specifics of what is a tax deduction. Again, please stick with me here. If you know the basics here, we're going to build up, okay? But if you don't know, remember, this is tax deduction 101. If you don't know what tax deductions are, please, this is an important component here. Now, a tax deduction, it's a reduction in a person's taxable income. That potentially can result in a lower tax liability. So deductions, think of them as are expenses that are allowed to be subtracted from a person's, income when calculating their tax liability. Basically, the government's paying you to invest in your business, if you really think about it. That's the way I look at it, at least. There are two types of deductions. There's, these things called standard deductions and itemized deductions. Standard deductions are fixed amounts that taxpayers can claim on their return without providing a specific documentation or a specific receipt, generally. Itemized deductions, on the other hand, require taxpayers to provide a specific document or receipt for each of those deductions that they claim, okay? Itemized. All right, think of item or receipt. Now, deductions can be claimed for a whole variety of expenses, such as a home mortgage interest, charitable donation, medical expense, or maybe even a business expense. In order to claim a deduction, taxpayers must meet certain requirements and limitations and must provide documentation and receipts to support their deduction, generally speaking, if called upon. So overall tax deductions are really they're expenses that can be subtracted, again, from a person's income when calculating their tax liability, which usually, again, lowers the overall tax bill. Meaning you don't have to give money to Uncle Sam per se because you've lowered your tax liability. All right, let's go over what we would say at vastsolutionsgroup.com are the top 5 commonly missed deductions for entrepreneurs. We'll go over, I said 5. So how about home office deduction? What is that? Again, as I mentioned above, I should say before, it allows business owners who work from home to claim a portion of their home expenses such as mortgage interest, property taxes, etc. Vehicle expenses, a lot of people, this is kind of a tricky one for some people. Entrepreneurs who use their personal vehicle for business purposes, they can claim a deduction for the cost of gas, oil, repairs, and other expenses relating to the vehicle. Now, sometimes people say, well, should I buy, should I rent? Depends on the circumstances. We have a calculator, a proprietary calculator, where we can figure out if in your situation, if it makes sense. And that's, again, AI-based. I'm going to remind you, everyone's saying they're AI. Well, we've been doing AI for years. We're on record. We've partnered with Google years ago. We're using Google TensorFlow years ago. We're still, generally speaking, with Google. We use Bard some, which is it augments our Einstein AI tech. Anyway, enough about us. This is not about us. This is really about how to help you understanding deductions, tax deductions. This is, again, Tax Deduction 101. What about meals and entertainment? Entrepreneurs can claim a deduction for the cost of meals and entertainment. Generally, they're directly related to their business, such as business lunches or client dinners, taking the staff out, etc. Now, CE, professional development or continuing education, whatever you want to call it, business owners can claim deductions for the cost of professional development expenses. Conferences, seminars, training courses, web memberships, depending on the circumstances. Those are the 5, I would say the 5 commonly missed deductions for entrepreneurs. It's totally important. You got to be aware of those. So, again, please feel free to reach out, talk to your advisor. It's probably best you go and talk to your advisor. Hopefully he or she understands a little bit about deductions versus just doing the tax return and not really delving into your specific situation. Now, then the question is, why are they? Let's think about this. Why do entrepreneurs miss business deductions? Well, entrepreneurs often miss deductions for a whole bunch of reasons, but really common reasons, they're not aware of them. They just have no clue. Well, hopefully, this and other efforts going on by either by the tax advisor or the entrepreneur will help get over that barrier. But really, another reason that entrepreneurs miss the deductions, they don't keep detailed records. It makes sense to keep detailed records. If you have an LLC, you really you have to have an ATM card or a checking account or savings account or a credit card for that LLC as an example, for that endeavor. So it makes it easy, by the way, to maintain detailed records. Also a bookkeeper. It's important to have a bookkeeper in some cases to help you with that. I know as an entrepreneur it's really hard, but if you have a bookkeeper that can help you in that regard, keep detailed records, well, that's another reason people, miss their deduction. And, me personally as an entrepreneur, I'm willing to pay a bookkeeper, whatever it is, $20, $30, $40, $50 an hour, whatever the case is, if they can save me, whatever, $100 an hour because I've missed some deductions and they wouldn't, Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I think bookkeeping's very, very important. So your rate of return on an investment. Anyway, that's a whole nother episode, really, Some business owners they're also hesitant to take deductions because they're afraid of being audited by the IRS. Well, if you're not cheating, really, I mean, come on. If you're not cheating, you're probably all good, Plus, if you get audited and you show you've done a good job, it is what it is. Sure, it's a drain on your resources, but hey, if you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. Anyway, overall, there are many reasons why entrepreneurs may not take deductions or miss deductions or whatever the case is. It's just, hopefully you understand it's important. Be aware of the deductions that are available out there. Now, here's a question. I'm often asked, do tax preparers help their clients find deductions. I'm going to say yes to that, just like I did for the bookkeepers. When I made that mention earlier, they can help clients find deductions versus business owners, entrepreneurs doing it themselves. Tax preparers, they're trained. They know what's going on, especially if they're using advanced technology as we are. And when working with a tax preparer generally, business owners can provide information about their business, income, expenses, and tax preparer usually can help identify the deductions, in addition to helping business owners find deductions, preparers can also provide a little bit of guidance on how to properly claim the deduction on their return, because they're so, it's getting more and more complex. Tax forms are getting more complex, even much more than they used to be back in the day when I started really in business back in '92. Now, overall, tax preparers can be a valuable resource, but sometimes there's issues. The number one complaint about tax preparers is they're not good communicators. I would agree with that, but then again, in some cases, you've got to work with your CPA, with your tax preparer, form a relationship. They're going to be one of your biggest advocates. They know your financial situation, and if you can work with them, there's a two-way communication. They can lower your tax liability. Then you're really good to go. Well, or hey, if your tax preparer isn't helping you, feel free to reach out to us at vastsolutionsgroup.com. We're a click away. But more than anything, hopefully this has helped you to understand a little bit more about tax deductions, and you won't miss out on any of those deductions. Getting those deductions can save you a ton of money. I remember talking to a client, or actually he became a client. He missed out on this is an incredible number. This was last week, by the way, over $200,000 in deductions. That's a lot of money. I don't know the exact number of amount that he could have saved, but I will just tell you, if he would have gotten some of those deductions, it's a considerable amount of money. How about this? It's more than I would like to pass up. Anyway, so hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions or need any information, again, by the way, go to your tax provider. He or she knows your situation. Or if you're not getting good communication, not getting advanced technology like we have at vastsolutionsgroup.com, please feel free to reach out. Once again, this is Kenner French at vastsolutionsgroup.com. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we've added some value to you, and now you know just that much more about Tax Deduction 101.